for you. And so this podcast episode is not going to be going out until a few weeks' time, but you get to see it right now. Um, okay, so let's talk about what we are going to be talking about today. Um, so, the four massive mistakes that everyone makes when trying to love their body. There are four mistakes that everyone makes when they're on their body loving journey, and I see them come up time and time and time and time and time and time again as reasons that people are stuck and don't feel good in their body. And I'm going to go in depth on all four of them today so that you can avoid these pitfalls. Um, and so when you don't work on these things, I've used this analogy before, but it's a really good one, and so I want to share it again. Is that it's like if you are making these mistakes, or if you have limiting self beliefs, it's like there's a bucket and it's got holes in, and each hole represents the mistakes and the limiting self beliefs. And when you pour water into that bucket, and the water is the goodness of fat positivity, listen to podcasts, doing the work, reading books, you're pouring water in, and it just drains out. But you don't know that there's holes there, and you keep pouring water in, and you're just like, why am I not feeling better? Why do I not love my body yet? And it's because you need to plug those holes. Then you can pour the water in. Then you'll be like, watery goodness. Thank you very much. And so these four mistakes are, here are four holes that we can plug right now today. Okay. So plug in the holes. Now, the first big mistake, massive. This is like the number one thing that stops people, is letting other people's judgments stop you from living. Literally stopping you from doing the things that you want to do in your life because of what other people are going to think, what other people are going to say, how other people are going to react to you living in a fat body without shame. Now, people are always going to judge you, sadly, no matter what. People are always going to judge you. Now, someone said to me, because I was asking people like, but because I always want to get inside your brains, right? Like what's going on here and stuff. And this person said, well, if I love myself and if I love my body, then other people's judgments are going to be louder and I'm going to experience more criticism. And yes, that is absolutely true. Not absolutely, but yes, that could happen. But what I put to you wouldn't it be easier to combat criticism about your body, living in a fat body, any type of comment or side look or whatever? Wouldn't that be easier if you liked your body, or you thought that your body was okay, or you thought that you were a worthy human being, versus if you were like, yeah, I am a piece of shit. Yeah, you're right. Like, wouldn't that be easier? Because if someone comes up to me and says, you're fat, Victoria, I'm like, congratulations. Great observational skills. Like, it doesn't mean anything to me, right? Because I'm like, yeah, I'm fat and I'm great and fat is fine, whatever. Whereas if I didn't love myself and someone said, you're fat, Victoria, it would be the most awful thing. I would remember that comment for years to come. It would ruin my day and my week, etc., etc. So isn't it better to work on loving yourself so that you can then deal with other people's judgments more effectively? Question to you. Why are you not answering me back? And so the way that this manifests, like what this looks like, and so I've divided this into four different categories, like romantic, family, friends, and strangers. So how this manifests, and so you can say, yes, this is, I think like this. These are actual things that people have told me, because I like doing like little surveys on Instagram and that type of stuff. So these are actual fears, okay? So romantic. So this is the fear of judgment. So romance. If I date, then when people meet me in person, they will think I'm way too fat. My spouse prefers smaller people, or me when I was smaller, and will leave me. I tend to date losers because they are quote unquote kind enough to overlook my crime scene of a body. I feel uncomfortable being intimate or naked. So that's how fear of judgment could manifest in the romantic side of things. Now, family. Family. I'd be loved more if I were thin, or when I did lose weight, they were so happy. I'm letting my family down. They are embarrassed by me. Constantly having to justify fat positivity, health at every size, or intuitive eating. And what if I do get sick and they will say, I told you so? So that is how fear of judgment is manifests in families. And yeah, there's lots of other ways as well, families worrying about how your family is going to, if you're not dieting, what they're going to say, if you decide to eat food, are they going to comment, etc., etc. Okay, so friends. Friends say I'm beautiful, but then diet not to look like me. Raised eyebrows. You're so beautiful. Oh my god, I never want to look like you. I haven't posted pictures on social media for fear what friends think. Scared to bump into someone I haven't seen in a while, especially if it's my ex, because I've put on weight. Friends say I look good just to be nice, but it's not actually true. And fear of judgment in regards to strangers. So strangers will presume I'm unhealthy, never exercise, or lazy. My body is the first thing they notice and they think it's bad. If I wear something that makes me more visible, I'll get abuse. And also, doctors will prescribe me weight loss. So the fear of judgment is in all areas of our lives, and it's massive. And I did a whole episode on what's going on when we're scared of how people perceive us, and we want to belong and all that type of stuff. But we don't know if this stuff is going to happen. Like, you could say, do you know what? I've decided that I am going to try and work on loving my fat body and not lose weight anymore. And your family could say, fuck you, you're disowned, never come around here again. Your boyfriend could be like, oh my god, I want to be with a very thin person, you're dumped. Or your partner or whatever, your friends could all be like, oh, actually, we're friends with you because we really like that you were thin one time, and they could tell you to go away. And people in the street could like throw eggs at you or whatever. Like those things could happen. Like, is it, is it possible that maybe a couple of fears might come true, but then also some wonderful things could happen? Yeah, probably. But it's no wonder that it's no wonder that you feel like this, or we as humans feel like this, is because we want to belong, and it's human nature to judge. Like, um, if you're quite a judgy person, then your fear of judgment might be also high. So if you're looking at other people like judging their bodies, good or bad, and assessing where they fit on the scale of attractiveness in the world, then you're probably doing that to yourself as well. And it's no wonder that we do this, because it's incredibly painful to be rejected and to be judged. And also, it's scary to fly in the face of fat phobia and our fat phobic society. And it takes a lot of bravery and practice. But if you continue putting other people's opinions of you above your own happiness, you'll never be truly happy, because you'll be living a lie, right? And it may be painful and it may be scary, but do you want to live the rest of your life living a lie and saying, oh yeah, no, definitely gonna diet, oh yeah, no, and not stepping into this new reality of I'm gonna love and accept my fat body, even if it is hard, even if I could get judged, but you're getting judged anyway. So it also leads to you to like living small and hiding away and being a vanilla version of you, you know Do you? So a couple of days ago, I was watching 24 Hours in A&E. It's a British program. It's about accident and emergency. You know, the ER room, and they interview the patients and stuff like that. There's this one woman in there. I think she was 86, and she was in there for, I don't know, something minor. She was fine. She said to the camera, like the first thing she says, "Don't bother getting old, because you become ugly. It's not worth living." And her whole interview, she was, and people, you know, the I'm guessing people were like, "Oh, isn't it funny, you know, old people, aren't they funny, you know?" But really, this is so fucked up. I was like, this isn't funny, this isn't cute. She's only concerned about, she thinks that she has no worth in life because she is not, quote unquote, attractive anymore. And she's saying how she's single, she could never find a husband because they weren't attractive enough for her. And at the end, they were like, she was like, "Okay, yeah, I would like to find a husband now." And they said, "What are you looking for?" And she said, "Obviously he has to be good looking." All she was focused on was looks. She was 86. Now, do you want to be that 86-year-old who's like, "Oh, you know, my life is not worth living because I'm quote unquote unattractive now," which is not true? Or do you want to be that person who said, "Fuck it, whatever stage you're in your life, even if you're 86 right now, fuck it, fuck what other people think. I'm gonna do what feels good for me. And if people don't like it, they can fucking suck my dangling tits." Do you know what I mean? So also, this, it really robs you of joy and fills you with regret. And it's a lot about, how my ex-boyfriend's going to perceive me, how um Michelle from school is, if I put up a picture, Michelle from school might see that I've put on 3 pounds and be like, "Oh my god, she's really let herself go." When really, like in Michelle's life, she's probably like, "Oh my god, my face is getting a bit wrinkly and I'm aging and I'm really stressed about it," or whatever. Um, People are living their own lives, and their judgment of you for having put on 3 pounds is fleeting and it passes and it's not a big deal. It's not like for the next 10 years they're going to be like, "Oh my god, one time in 1997 Sharon put a picture and it looked like she'd put on 3 pounds. Oh my god, so scandalous." People just like, whatever, they get over it. um so when you let go of the weight of people's judgments, you're able to tune into really, who you really are and what you actually want from life versus doing things to please other people. It's going to massively decrease your anxiety. You're going to care less. Like the act of caring less means that you're going to care less. Like it's going to reduce. Like the working on being afraid of what people think of you is going to become easier and easier and easier, to the point where you're just like, "I don't fucking give a shit." You know, everyone is walking around this world being like, "I want to be loved. I hope people like me. Am I good enough? Am I attractive enough?" And if they have lower self esteem, they might look at you and say, "You're ugly, you're too fat, whatever." And it's, a lot of the times it's coming from a place because they are not feeling good. We're all just in this headspace of, am I enough? Am I smart enough? Am I good enough? Am blah, 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 blah. Am I going to get fired? And it's just a waste of time. You know, what will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. And also, when you let go of the weight of people's judgments, you'll be able to live loud and proud and have people love you for the real, authentic version of you. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? Okay, so that is number one. Number one, letting other people's judgments stop you from living. Do we want to do that? Nah, let's not do that anymore. It's boring. We've got other better stuff to do, you know? Better stuff to do in life. Okay, so number two, spending weeks, months, or even years learning and never taking action. So this is the constant learner effect. I went into deeper what the constant learner effect was in another episode titled The Constant Learner Effect. So if you want to get deeper into what that is, then you can look at that. But let's talk about it right here. People do this. So what this looks like is, following people on Instagram, listening to a lot of podcasts, reading lots of books and blog posts, watching YouTube things, doing all that's good, but then never doing the stuff, never taking the advice, always taking in this information, and there's that input and there's never that output from people. Not never, but this is just a trap that people fall into. But if you're doing this, like, don't feel bad, it makes sense. Like, it's relatively easy to take those steps to follow someone, right? To learn, to buy a book. And it is, depending on what you're trying to do, potentially quite hard to take action, especially if you think that you shouldn't or can't do this thing. In fact, it can be fucking terrifying, right? And so why would you do the thing that's really hard and terrifying when you can just follow someone new on Instagram, right? And if you lack confidence, it's like a vicious circle. You lack confidence, so you don't do the thing. And because you haven't done the thing, your confidence doesn't grow. And remember, it's like learning to swim by reading a book. You have to jump in the water. Now, you don't have to jump in the deep end. That is bad advice. Don't jump in the deep end because you will traumatize yourself. Jump in the shallow end. Just tinkle your toes in a little bit of water. Just get a little bit wet and then run out. And then put your clothes on and go home. Just do a little bit. Okay? If you don't just do that little bit and then keep practicing more and more and more until then you're diving off like 100-foot diving board. I don't know if 100 foot's a thing. Maybe you'll die. But anyway, if you don't and you just learn, you're going to reinforce the belief that you can't do it. And confidence is for other people. You're going to stay stuck. You will become overwhelmed with information. There are so many things that are on my reading list. On so many things on all of our reading list, and to listen to watch, to consume. And sometimes that information isn't helpful. Sometimes that information isn't important. And you're like, okay, well, I just need to read this book, and I just need to read this blog post, and I've saved loads of bookmarks of things that I need to do. And the thing you need to do is take an action. But then when you do take action, it's going to automatically build confidence if you do it in the right way. Remember, don't jump into the deep end because you could scare yourself. That little tinkling your toes in the water, just a little tinkle of the toes in the water. That's going to build confidence. And then you'll get momentum. And you'll be able to, once you've tinkled your toes in the water, maybe go up to your ankle, maybe go up to your shins, maybe go up to your knees. And then you're also able to let go of overwhelm. Like, you can still have that reading list of the 100 things that you need to read, but also you can be doing the things. And then you will experience freedom. Freedom. Oh, and you'll be like, oh my God. Oh, actually, I could do that thing. Oh my God, I didn't die when I wore that dress. I didn't die when I wore a sleeveless top. I didn't die when I looked at my body in the mirror. You know, something that's like little, so then you can increase. Okay, so mistake number 3 is failing to stop the flow of fat phobia into your life. So what this looks like is, so this is a tricky one. Now, sometimes it's really obvious what is fat phobic. You know, like, well, maybe it's not actually. You know, I was about to say, you know, like the British media saying everyone's dying if they're fat from COVID. To me, that's obviously fat phobic, but to other people, they might be like, oh, I should listen to this. This has merit. You know, but, you know, something obviously fat phobic, you know, some video of Oh, you remember that video, Dear Fat People, from Nicole Arbor. She's just an absolute disgusting human being who made a video and it went viral. And she was like, it's satire, even though she didn't know what satire was. She's like, oh, I'm just a comedian. And she like made a video saying, oh, fat people, you're horrible or whatever. Something like that, you might be able to see, okay, that's fatphobic. And I'm not going to watch that. If you're thinking about watching that, don't watch that. Don't watch that shit. Don't consume content that is obviously fatphobic. But here is the problem. Here lies the problem. A lot of stuff we don't realize is fatphobic until we are more confident in our body and we understand more about what fat phobia is and how it manifests in our lives. And so a lot of people, I will say, they'll say, oh, I don't feel confident. Okay, so tell me about your day-to-day life or what's going on in your life. And they'll be like, well, I was watching this program, and I'll be like, hang on a minute, that program where they make constant fat jokes? Yeah, that one. Oh, okay. And then I went to see my mum, who's a hardcore dieter. Oh, and does she talk to you about dieting? Well, yeah, but just a little bit. She doesn't tell me that I should go on a diet. She just tells me about her diet. Uh-huh. Okay. And then what? Oh, and then I will go hang out, we'll go shopping with my thin friends. And I don't actually buy clothes myself because we just go to all in the thin stores, but it's fun, it's nice to hang out with them. Oh, okay. Interesting. And so there'll be a lot of things where people don't realize it is, detrimental towards their mental health, detrimental towards their body loving journey, and they brush it off. They say it's not that big a deal, and I'm like, it fucking is. Especially if you're new to this, especially if you're working towards loving your body. Yes, it is. If you have constant pokes saying, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, even if it's a tiny little boop, by the end of the day, you're going to be bruised. You're going to be hurting. Okay? And also, people don't like setting boundaries. And so, they'll say, oh, well, my mum's talking about her diet, but I don't want to tell her to not to stop because it would seem like I'm not supporting her or whatever. Well, if someone is actively harming you, then it's okay to say, hey, can we change the subject or whatever, or hey, can you stop harming me? Obviously, you wouldn't necessarily use those words. um yeah, so people are like, they do not set boundaries. But it's understandable, right? If you're doing that, it's understandable, because it's hard to be aware of what is fat phobic if you can't see it. So you could want to change. You could be like, yeah, I want to get rid of all of fat phobia in my life. But if you can't see it, then how can you get rid of it? Um, and also, you could be not fully confident in your new beliefs, that being fat is okay. And so if you don't fully trust it, it can be hard to vocalize to people, hey, don't talk shit about fat people. If you're like, but is it okay to talk shit about fat people? you know and also, it can be really hard to break a cycle. Really, really hard. If you've done things and watched things and spoken to your family in a certain way all of your life, to then one day turn around and be like, hey, this is the new me. It can be hard, right? It can be hard to break that cycle. um so if you're doing this, like, don't feel bad. Like, it's complicated, but also getting fat phobia out of your life is really, 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 really important. So if you don't work to get fat phobia out of your life, and that's seeping into your brain, your own fat phobic beliefs deepen and become fact. You know how, in society, it's fact that fat people are unhealthy. Well, that's not actually true. But, when you're so deeply fat phobic, that is just black and white. So the more that this stuff goes unchallenged, the more it becomes fact. And then when it's fact to you, it's harder to change those beliefs. If you don't stop the fat phobia getting into your life, your self-esteem will lower even more. And you can feel stuck and confused. Like, who is right? Is this right? Should I listen to my doctor who's telling me that, um, I need to lose weight because I stubbed my toe? Or should I listen to what my brain is telling me, saying this doesn't feel right? Maybe losing weight is not going to help me with my stub toe, And it can be really confusing because, you want to do what's best for yourself and what's best for your family and those who are being influenced by you. You don't want to lead them down the wrong path. And also, if you don't stop the fat phobia into your life, you're more likely to continue to try and manipulate your body size. You might try it, or you might have disordered eating patterns, or you might just constantly secretly thinking, I just wish I was thin. I just wish I was thin. And when you're able to identify and reduce that fat phobia in your life, that will increase your self-esteem. You'll be able to easily spot when something impacts you negatively and protect your mental health. And you'll also have way more space to add the good things into your life. Now, for me, I'm so. People often ask me, like, what do you say when people, say diety things to you? Or what do you say when someone says something mean to you, like in person? And I'm like, that hardly ever happens anymore, unless I meet new people. Um, but the people around me, they know so well that fat phobia isn't cool, and not to talk about food moralizing or anything like that in front of me, that I just don't experience it. And so it's easier. Like, sometimes I do, like if I meet a new person, and obviously I do, like online from trolls and shit, but that's not what people are asking me about. um and it's so, fat positivity is so in my brain that when something that is not fat positive comes up, say if I'm watching a new TV show or whatever, it is like this red alert, like woo 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 woo, fat phobia alert. Before, I would never have spotted it. I would have just been like, well, yeah, no big deal. I would have said, it's not a big deal, it's not a big deal. But now I spot it and I make a decision. Do I want to keep consuming this content? Or, do I let it slide for a little bit, see if it improves, that type of thing? And then, I'll monitor how I'm feeling. And then, say if I watch a show. So I started watching this show. It's a British show. It was called, oh, I should have not watched it from the fucking name of the show. It was called Body Fixers. I mean, really, come on. People go into a salon and they say, I've got, my hair is too curly, can you straighten it for me? Or I've got a spot on my nose, can you take the spot off? Or whatever, things like that. And so I was like, oh, this could be interesting, because the first guy goes in, he's like really really white. He's like, I want to get a tan, so he gets a tan and stuff like that. And so I watched, I think, 2 episodes, and I was like, I don't know about this. Like, there was no fat phobia in the show. But then a couple of days later, I noticed me looking at my face differently, looking, saying, maybe I should get some Botox. And I was like, what? Where is this coming from, Victoria? And someone on the show got Botox. And it was just like, okay, well, I'm not watching that show anymore. Even though it might be entertaining, it is not good for my mental health. And I could decide to keep watching it if I want to, or not. It's my decision. But I realized, even though the show wasn't fat phobic, it was problematic. I mean, come on now. I should have done better, like Body Fixers, really. Because there's another show called Tattoo Fixers that I've seen a few times. When people get like shit tattoos when they're drunk or whatever, and they get a better one. So I was like, oh, it could be like that or whatever. But no. Okay, so mistake number 4: trying to control physical health and ignoring mental health. Now, this is a big one. People are like, as long as I'm fat and healthy, as long as, people are like, oh yeah, fat people, as long as they're fat and healthy. And, I don't want to lose weight for what I looks like. I want to lose weight because I want to be healthy. Is that true? Is that true? Is that true? And so this also looks like healthism. healthism is, in case you're not familiar with that term, is we live in a healthy society. It blames the individual for their health status and treats the body as a machine. So if you do this, then this will happen. If you never eat this food, you will never get sick. And it values healthy bodies over unhealthy bodies. So we all have healthist and ableist beliefs, but we need to, work to get rid of them. This also looks like a deep fear of weight gain and believing in scaremongering. This whole thing about the COVID? It's that shit. It's believing in that shit and being like, not using those critical thinking brains of ours. So it's no wonder that we think like this, because we have been fed millions of messages that say fatness equals death. And that's scary. Most of us don't want to die. So, if we think about putting on weight and we think no one's going to love us, our partner's going to think we're ugly, we're going to then become unhealthy and die, like, why then? Oh, hello, of course you're going to be scared to put on weight. So it's also no wonder, because you don't want to feel like you're quote unquote giving up on your health. And a lot of times people believe that accepting your fat body means that you are quote unquote giving up on trying to be healthy. It is literally the opposite, because trying to manipulate your body size, over exercising, guilt and shame and all that type of stuff is not good for your health. Accepting and loving your body has shown to improve your self-esteem. It's shown to that you will have better health outcomes. It's good for your health, because then you can focus on things in a non-disordered way. So you're not giving up. You're literally doing the opposite. You're not doing something that's you're not doing something that's easy. This stuff is not easy. Okay. It's hard to try and lose weight because, diets don't work. But it's also not easy to say, okay, I'm just going to accept my body. You're up against a lot. It's hard work. It's hard work to undo those millions of messages that you've heard. So you're not giving up. And also, I mentioned before, what the idea of being fat or fatter means to you and to society. But if you continue believing that fat equals unhealthy and undesirable, it's going to damage both your physical and mental health. You're more likely to continue to engage in harmful behaviors. And then you're going to be unable to uproot your healthism and fat phobia. And also, you're unable to fully care for your health, because you're approaching it in a disordered way, and be comfortable in your body. And also, when we're so focused on our physical health, we oftentimes kick mental health to the sideline. Well, that doesn't matter. Mental health has a massive impact on your physical health. So when you let go of the idea that you have to try to control your physical health, by the way, oftentimes we can't control what goes on in our bodies. When you let go of the idea that you have control, you're able to rebuild helpful behaviors and minus disordered beliefs. Okay, so you're able to, once you've recovered from all of these unhelpful behaviors and beliefs, you're then able to add in stuff that's not based in disordered thinking. Right? You're able to care for yourself fully while feeling calm and joyful, versus feeling anxious all the time that your body is bad. And also, you're not going to think that you're going to spontaneously combust from fatness all the time. Like, having that worry is not good for us, right? So that is number 4. So let me go over them again. Number 1, letting other people's judgments stop you from living. That's the biggest one. Number 2, spending weeks, months, or even years learning and never taking action. That's the constant learner effect. Number 3, failing to stop the flow of fat phobia into your life. And number 4, trying to control your physical health and ignoring your mental health, or believing that you have control, absolute control over your physical and mental health. Yeah. So those are the big things that I want you to think about, and hopefully today's episode has helped you consider those things and how, some of those beliefs might be unhelpful or problematic for you. And hey, if you're listening to this episode and you're on social media right now, why not take a screenshot of you listening to this episode and tag me on social media, and I will share. I'll give you a shout out. I'll say, hey, this person is Fierce Fatty. And if you want to get more into this stuff, then grab my um, the Fierce Fatty Body Love Roadmap, which goes into these mistakes and also the 3 easy steps to follow to increase your body confidence. And also there is an invite in there for you to join Fierce Fatty Friends, my Facebook group. And you'll get body love trainings sent to your inbox. Oh my gosh, amazing. Yeah, so that is our episode today. Thank you for hanging out. I think maybe it was a bit of a longer episode today. Oh no, not so much. Yeah, so thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you're feeling a little bit more fat positive after this. Like if you've been feeling like your body's not okay, I hope, this is what I hope. I hope hanging out with me uh makes you feel more positive, and listening to an episode makes you feel more resolute in the idea that your body is okay and that you're worthy no matter what your weight is. That is my hope for these episodes, that you can just have a little injection of goodness into your brain, and you can just carry on with your life, and then if you're having a bit of a wobbly moment, you can come back and listen to an episode and feel better. But also, if you want to get deeper into this work and stop that constant learner effect and really deep dive into this stuff, then consider my e-course, Fierce Fatty Academy. It's probably not available right now. It's not. It depends when you're listening, right, is when I'm saying it's probably not available. It's not right now. But if you want to be notified when Fierce Fatty Academy is available, you can go to fiercefatty.com/waitlist. I think that's what it is. Yeah, it must. Yeah, it is. I was like, shit, is that the URL? No, it is. I'll also link in the show notes to Dr. Joshua Woolrich and Christy Harrison's posts, so that you can see those too if you want to share them. So yeah. Okay, thanks for hanging out today. I will see you in the next episode. Okay, bye, Fatty. See you